Plat Valorant episode 131. I booted all the rest of the regulars off the show because their prediction rate was appalling. If Mel can come on here and pick 100 Thieves and Cloud9 and be correct, why couldn't Achilles, Sliggy, and TMV also get everything correct, huh? So that's my expectation for all three of you, is that you're all going to get your predictions right about everything, and we can still talk about EMEA and Pacific now that we've got rid of all of those stinky Americans.
I like it, no pressure.
I am not
then.
a stinky American.
No, you're not a stinky American. You've been
indoctrinated, into the Korean society. It's perfect.
Are you drinking a beer though, Seth?
I am.
Right.
Because I'm indoctrinated into the Korean society.
Fair enough, actually. I was going to ask you if it was an American beer, but it is much more Korean to be drinking. It's 9 a.m. my time. That would be a bit intense, but it's
a
not,
Korean
not
beer called Terra. Sponsor Plat Chat, Terra.
I don't think we have a large enough Korean audience to justify a sponsorship like that. It'd have to be like, I don't know, I guess we'd go after Heineken or something.
Yeah.
So
0.0 or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah. How did your prediction rates fare, Sliggy and TMV? I think it was, was it you, Sliggy, that did the America's tier list? And it was just loud at the top and crew at the bottom?
I don't do tier list. That was TMV, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that was you, TMV?
Yeah.
Right.
I did where loud, I mean, yeah, that's how it is though. It's loud at the top, crew in the bottom, and the middle is just a big throw them wherever you want. And that's pretty much how it goes. I mean, last time I was on though, NRG owe me a favor because I predicted against NRG playing Sentinels in that game, and that was the game they won, and then they lost the next week looking bad. So I anti-cursed them.
It doesn't work like that because Mel also anti-cursed a bunch of the favorites, and she got it correct, and then she gets all the credit. You can't just always get the credit for going against the grain, whether you're correct or whether you're wrong. You're literally wrong. You can't get the credit.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm taking.
She had the first-hand scrim box, though. You got to give her that. She's been scrimming against some of the teams. First-hand scrim box.
Yeah, I mean, she refused to elaborate. She just picked her favorite teams and then bounced. So yeah, maybe it was Scrimbuck's data. Who knows? I do want to start talking Americas though to begin with, because one of the mad situations that we touched on last week, but more in terms of like what we thought was going on, we didn't actually see any matches, was Sentinels bringing Marv back into the roster. Now Marv is streaming back from Canada. Who knows if he's coming back for next week or anything? I haven't heard any updates about that. So what do we make of this week from Sentinels? They had 2 days of practice, from what I understand. They were not, ready, set up, mega prepared for this week, and yet they still actually had a really good performance. They pushed loud, had a very dominant win over MIBR, and Marv popped off the entire time.
Yeah, and he looks incredible. It looks like he literally has never even stepped away from the game at all and taken a break. He's looking so good. I even saw a clip of Tens when he was talking, and he was just like, the roles just make sense. And when the person's getting replaced is talking about the role, it's just making sense as well. It's like, it's hard to argue against. I mean, the roles really do make sense. They got like the two best controller players in a heavy double controller meta, and they look so good. Marv is just finding crazy timings. I don't know. He has just like a sixth sense for the game at the moment. I swear. He's like his feeling of just when he can take these timings. And I saw him. He was saying that he was making a lot of like shot calls and just like mid round calling as well, which is interesting. He was like, he's really adamant to get the comms released. So they're doing like a YouTube video of it, because he wants to hear how much he was like mid rounding. But it did seem like in these games he was just everywhere. Just found insane timings, and he's just out aiming everyone. He just looks unbelievable. Yeah, I was super impressed. And again, it was like the first time I'm kind of looking at them, just thinking, this team makes sense. Like with him in, the team makes sense in my eyes.
Yeah, they've got kind of a weird situation to kind of figure out, like, does Marv want to play? That's obviously one question. Does he actually, is it a one-off? Does he actually want to play? Do they dare bench Tens? Even though it might make sense with kind of his outer, what's going on in the rest of his life, it might make a bit of a sense to take a bit of a break now for Tens. But I mean, there's obviously going to be a lot of people who maybe wouldn't be happy at that decision if it did come to pass.
Who?
It's a very
sorry to interrupt, but who would not be happy if that happened? Like, do you think the Sentinels fans would actually rather see Tens play than their team win?
I think a lot of Sentinels fans are Tens fans.
It's exactly. There's a split. There's the people who are just fans of Sentinels as a team and they want the best for them, and then there's the people who are only fans of Tens. And basically, no matter what organization he plays on, they're going to follow him, and those people are the ones that are going to be upset.
Basically, but yeah, I mean, Marved was insane, and I know Marved has like kind of a somewhat solitary play style. It's not like he's coming in and having to be in perfect timing with everyone, because he was finding a lot of his own timings on lurks and whatnot. But it was just insane. Just like, I mean, there's one round where he those 3 people of MIBR on A, like in A main, and he just like walked down drop and into spawn without them seeing them, and just like won a round, and it was like, how's he finding that timing, just like coming back out of the cold, just like straight away, and just like dunking on MIBR essentially. It was insane that he could come back like that. And we've seen for other players, we've seen Ye on DSG had a bit of a rough start to his debut. For a lot of players, it might not be, oh yeah, just come back and play, and you'll be fine. Like, you might struggle early on with team chemistry and whatnot, but yeah, it was kind of insane how quickly Marv just absolutely destroyed this game.
Yeah, he's still really, really good. And I think the other part to that is, you asked the question, is he still going to want to play? I would be amazed if he didn't want to play.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a competitive guy. He talked in the interview at the end, and he seemed incredibly gassed up about it. I mean,
didn't he say he was here to stay?
He said he was here to stay, and then he followed up in another interview and just said, I thought it was a good one-liner. I don't know. It's not my decision.
Okay, I missed that part.
I mean, I think that's just... But that is just Marv, like... Dude, I would be amazed if he was doing like crazy amounts of mid-rounding. I know he said he has, but I would be amazed, because from what I've heard about him, he's just a quiet individual that's completely locked into the game, finds his own timings, and then just is like an instinctive, incredible player. And the fact that in the interview he's just like, first thought that pops into his head is, I'll just say I'm here to stay, and then he just says it. Like, that is also just Marv to a T, I think. If you were in charge of Sentinels, would you keep this roster the same way?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
It's not even like a second thought. Like, and again, I think Tens is very good, but if you just look at just a role thing, they've got 2 duelists in a one duelist, like heavy one duelist meta. There's maybe like a few maps you can try and push double duelists, maybe like a fracture and a split. But everything else at the moment is just heavy dominated by a double controller. So it's just like, it's not even like a player by player basis. It's just like straight up just role thing. It's just like,
But I mean,
this just makes way more sense.
It is a bit. You said that last time as well, that it's double controller and a double controller meta, but Pancada is playing hard Sentinel. He's not playing the controllers at any point, right?
Some of them maybe. We saw them play double controller on Pearl, right? And that's only within 2 days of them having the option with Marved. So I think that's what they would heavily lean to. I think in terms of then, they were just staying away from it because of the roles that they had in terms of like with Tens and Zekken being there. So it's like. I think they would lean more heavy into it, and it just suits them way better. They have two of the arguably best controllers in the world. So
it puts the standings in a really weird spot as well, actually, because we'll talk about some of the other teams coming up too. But Sentinels were one of those teams that were in such a slump that you kind of write them off just a little bit. You're like, all right, okay, but they'll probably not be able to pull it back together. And then coming into Super Week, where they have 2 matches, they make this change and pick up an incredibly important win. I think this like middle of the pack area in Americas, the fight for like the bottom spots in playoffs is crazy difficult to call right now, especially with 100 Thieves looking like they've recovered a bit too.
Yeah, it was a good showing from them. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, it was a good week for just like North American teams, really.
I think they went 5-1, the NA teams.
Yeah, they really kind of pulled it around. I'm getting a real good sense of just like people like Leaf and Marv. I don't know how much individual research they do, but it's looking like they do a lot of individual research just by some of their players and like how they react to a lot of stuff that's going on. I don't know how much the coaches are involved and how much is just like them on a personal basis. But I think
sorry, go on.
I think like they're honestly just finding like crazy timings, and I know I speak to Cooper a lot, and he's just saying that like Leaf is like doing like a lot of work in terms of like watching demos And I honestly, I don't know if maybe Marv's just like super smart and just has like a real good feeling and he doesn't do that. But it does look like his reactions to at least what ult the enemy team has or what util going down, he just has like, he just knows how they're playing instantly. So
yeah, I was going to bring up, there was an interview from MCE, I think it was, although it might have been Cupid, where they were talking about how much Leaf does VOD review prep and how much Leaf contributes to the setups and the kind of, here it is. There you go, from Brandon Moore at Esports GG. So during this, MCE was asked like how much of the comp preparation and stuff is from the players and how much is from you guys, and I think he ended up settling on like it's about 70-30. Like the coaches bring these ideas to the team, and then he specifically named Leaf as doing a lot of the refinement of those strategies. Like, hey, if we're going to play this, we have to do it in X way. Like, if we're going to take this area, we need to be doing this, because apparently Leaf watches a ton of the VODs. Yeah, here's the answer. Leaf actually watches a lot of matches, weirdly enough, and understands these comps inside and out. When we first started playing this comp, it was Leaf that was like, oh, when we do this, we need to do it this way. When we do this, we need to do this. So that is very interesting. I don't know whether Marv is that kind of player. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure. At least from when I'm looking at the stuff he does, I'm thinking maybe, unless he's just
just got a God read.
Yeah,
he's just Nostradamus on Omen. Yeah.
But yeah, I could definitely tell from like the 100 Thieves when they played, it was Cloud9 against 100 Thieves. I remember watching, I'm just being like, they know what they're doing every single time. Like they're doing the perfect things when they have ults, and they asked Cupid about it, and he was like, it's literally just all Leaf. Like he knew that they on Ascent, I think it is with Viper, they use like their defensive all over towards A every single time, and it's like 5 out of 5 times. And so he's like doing his own research, and then they goes insta fast, like dashes on him, and they try and get the kill early. Like I think he's integral to this team. I think he's like the main thing. I think he's the main reason why they're insane right now. Obviously with the coaching and like the core.
Well, yeah, 100 Thieves came off that loss to Cloud9, though, into Super Week, and cheated their way to a victory. Listening to the crowd the entire time. Yeah, I mean, it was an insane week from 100 Thieves with some massive wins, but I do want to talk about this topic of the crowd just telling them where everything's going. Bala, I can't remember which game it was that Bala was casting, but he actually had to tell the crowd to shut up during the...
It was.
I think it was the very first game.
Yeah, it was.
I think it was the very first map, because I was watching, and America starts at like 4 a.m. for me, and I remember Bala being like, "Come on, guys, don't give it away," and it's like, yeah, everyone shut the fuck up, please, like stop doing this. It's because like you can also imagine there's probably people in the audience who are like pointing, like go the other fucking side, like run the other way, and you just need to not do that because you are actively being a piece of shit that is like ruining the integrity of this match.
Yeah.
I remember it's like a 2-on-2 on Icebox or something, and they're like they cut sound over towards A or something, and then they were rotating A, but they're actually going B. The crowd are just shouting out like they're going B. Like, damn guys, come on. Like I get they can't really hear you because of the noise cancelling and like the white noise and stuff, but if someone does hold their mic down, like stuff does get picked up, so it is a little bit risky.
Yeah,
like they just need to punish people for it.
They do. They just need to kick people out for it. Absolutely, especially when it's only 100 people in the crowd like this. It should be easy to figure out like who's doing it, especially if there's repeat offenders, or especially if they have a fucking sign that says "Go B."
Yeah,
this was my main thing, and people have asked me on my stream like, do I prefer the coaches? Like, where do I prefer the coaches sitting? Like, do I prefer them like being behind the team, or do I prefer them like sitting like on stage, not near the team, or like away from them? And I always say, like, in CS, it's so easy to cheat. Like, literally, you have someone in the crowd. They have a little sign, and it will be like one sign says like "Go Navi," and the other one's just like Navi, and then literally just that person's just saying like A, this means A, and this one means B, and they're basically just just telling the coach, and then the coach can just stand on one end. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's too easy to cheat.
The way that it works, even currently in Valorant, you could be able to pull that off because the players can see the crowd. It's just about trusting the players not to have colluded with a member of the audience in order for that to happen. But I think what we're discussing here is not the 100 Thieves players deliberately using the information. It's the crowd being fans voluntarily kind of giving that information just, I don't know, because they think it's funny or because they think it's like a reasonable part of the game to help your team along. Maybe I'm not really sure.
I'm
what
just
goes through
picturing
someone's
someone's
head like
dad getting taken away as they're screaming, "No, they're going B!" Like, one of the 100 Thieves players' dads is just
Bang's dad.
I mean,
I moved
they
to
start-
LA for this.
if people don't clean up their act and they start removing people, by the time you hit halftime of the first map, the crowd is just going to be fucking empty.
Yeah.
They'll just have dragged everybody out, right? Security's just going to be consistently going back and forth.
The Brazilian fans are quite rightly going bonkers about this too, because the North American fans on Reddit
Because of the hypocrisy.
were going crazy at lock-in. And now, first opportunity, literally the first opportunity, they've gone even harder. The NA fans have taken it to another level. This is way worse than anything that the Brazilian fans were doing at lock-in. Way worse, because it's much more specific.
I mean, Loud actually got punished by when they were cheering when Boaster had the shotgun by the smoke. Loud got punished by their own fans, going, "Oh!" getting ready for the fight or whatever. And now we've just got people pointing people on the map.
And to be clear, I think that going "ooh" or whatever is completely fair game. I think
that's natural. That's the thing. It's the difference between being natural, but it's not natural to just be like, "Yo, go B, they're going B." Like that's not natural. You're going out of your way to do that. But an actual build up of this is like actual tension. Yeah, exactly. And you're always gonna hear rumbles and vibrations and stuff, and that's just how it is alive. That's just everything. But in terms of shouting out important information, let's get them out.
I will also say, from my point of view casting, I'm amazed that Bala even heard what was going on, because we cast with headphones that are more like what you guys are wearing, compared to the full-on in-ears and then a thing over the top like the players are. So we don't have the same level of noise isolation while we're casting. I can't hear specific words the crowd are saying at all. People in the crowd are shouting. What? Sorry.
But that's how you know it's that bad. We don't even know where the mic is. It might have even been worse for what we were hearing.
Possibly, but I mean, what I mean is that we're a lot closer than the players are. I think my point being that it's picking up on the crowd mics much more heavily than it is for the players or for us when we're in the venue. I can hear a shout of someone trying to say a funny line or something when things go quiet, and I can't respond to it or anything because I just can't hear what it is over the sound of the game and myself and Brent talking. And we brought up the tweet a second ago, but Stella said they can't really tell specific things that the crowd is shouting. They can tell when there's a lot of people shouting. So I definitely think the crowd mic makes it sound much more clear than it is, but it doesn't also mean that you should get away with cheating, right? The crowd should not be allowed to just cheat.
The excuse shouldn't be the players can't actually hear what I'm saying. I'm just being funny for the stream. No, stop. Because on the off chance that one of them does hear it, or enough people are yelling it, you've then ruined the integrity of the game. It's better to just shut the fuck up, and then if you're gonna if you're going to see, I'm a big supporter of booths, and booths have been exiled from esports apparently, aside from TI. But none of this would be an issue if you had a nice booth. But if you're gonna yell, if it's that build up, that tension, that rumbling in the audience, that kind of infectious energy, that's one thing. Do not specifically call things and try to spoil shit, because it's just stupid, and you should be ejected and put in prison.
Booths are never gonna stop the vibration, so it's big numbers. But I guess kind of when there's big numbers, you don't hear the individual calls. This is the
it's
one
also
side
not
of
legal
having
in
the
California
cloud.
because of fire reasons, and probably in many other places in the US. They would have to put sprinklers inside of there, put holes in the booths, and then you just hear it anyway. Well, you just hear it.
Just get a series of hose pipes that are just funneled in, and then you just turn them on. And
put a man with a sprinkler in the booth the entire time, and they're just supposed to hose down the players if there's any kind of fire disaster. And you need to drill the holes into the sound booth in order for it to get up to code. And then that just lets the sound through anyway.
I mean, surely the players can get out of a booth faster than an audience can get out of an arena in the case of a fire.
It's not me making the rules, it's the fire marshal.
I know. I'm calling out all fire marshals right now on this. Okay.
Calling out all people helping us not die of fires, notably the people that are the least respected in civilization.
Bunch of pricks.
The people that help you not die of fire. Let's move on to actually talking about the game, though. The 100 Thieves win over Leviatan came as a big, unexpected surprise for me. I think that Leviatan have been struggling a little bit to close out a couple of the games that I was expecting them to, like the win against Furia earlier on. But they're still looking pretty for playoffs and like a top spot. But this one really got 100 Thieves back onto their path, I suppose. And critically, it didn't even come with them winning on Icebox. I think if you look at the map pool, 100 Thieves are favored on Icebox. Leviatan just got trashed there, but they had managed to improve significantly. It was actually 100 Thieves winning on Haven and Lotus. Lotus, a map where they were playing a terrible comp before and have swapped it all around. I think this gives some hope.
Yeah, when I saw them lose Icebox, I was like, okay, they're done. Because even if they, somehow managed to, scrape a Haven somehow, which I didn't think they would be favored in, I was like, but their Lotus has been so bad before that, they surely, even when Lotus got into the map pool, I was like, oh, I don't know what. Like, this doesn't look good.
And Leviatan looked amazing on Lotus before, too. Like, their B retakes with Taco were cracked.
Yeah, so it was an impressive win, though. It was a genuinely, impressive win. And maybe, they kind of just went to what's kind of become the meta on Lotus, I guess. Maybe that helped them that, they could just, steal, what is kind of becoming the meta with the, Omen, Viper, Sky stuff. So maybe that's just what they needed. They just needed to copy someone else's ideas and just, admit that, they couldn't read the map. But, we'll just take someone else's ideas and we can do it okay. But yeah, it was still a very close back and forth game. It was an incredibly close game, which is kind of something that both these teams, like you were saying, with Leviatan and 100 Thieves as well. We kind of saw that in their game against Sentinels. They've played some of these, incredibly close games. So, it still very easily could have gone the other way. But I thought when they lost Icebox, okay, they're done. I don't see a way that they could win it. And so I'm very pleasantly surprised that they did. Although I do think that Leviatan will be disappointed. I think Leviatan will watch this game back and be like, we could have and maybe should have won this game if we, didn't make as many mistakes as they were. They kept doing these fast hits, and I don't know if this was the crowd, with maybe boosted their adrenaline and whatnot, and they wanted to, we're feeling pumped and let's just go. They're doing a lot of these fast hits on particularly Haven, I thought, towards the end, Leviatan. And Ono used his timeouts very, very early. Yeah. And I did just think if he didn't use both of his timeouts by round 8 or something, I wonder if they just would have calmed down, because 100 Thieves took a timeout at 12-10, and Ono got to speak to Leviatan. And in that round, Leviatan played a very, very slow, nice little default, ended up hitting a site where one person was there, planted the spike, flawless round, looked really good. And then the very next round, they went back to fast B hit and lose on Haven. So, and that clutch there is just unreal. What a way to lose a game, a 3v1. Oh my God.
But at the same point, even if they win that 3v1, they're only going to OT.
Overtime,
100 Thieves could definitely have won at that point. What is it? That just takes it away from being a coin flip, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I love this game. I thought it was one of the best games I've watched for a while. A lot of individuals stepping up. To be honest, it was a lot of individuals. I kind of agree with what TMV was saying. They used their timeouts first 8 rounds, and I was like, I think they used their first one at 4-2 up or something as well, and I was like, damn, this is a little bit bold. Yeah, I think King had a bit of he was having one of the best games that I've probably seen him have, and then he had an absolute shocker on the defense half. And there was a lot of rounds that they'll watch back in VOD review again and would just be like, damn, how do we not win this? Yeah. But yeah, that happens all the time when it's these close games. Sometimes it's easier to just get boomed out, so you don't have to think about all the little mistakes that you made. Honestly, sometimes it's better. This was cool though. I like a lot of their set defense rounds. They had I'm loving the amount of Sova's really been perfected on Haven now. The amount of set alt rounds we have with Sova on defense is so good on Haven. But yeah, I liked a lot of. I just thought it was the best game so far that maybe out of the whole split, to be honest.
Do you mean best in terms of quality or best in terms of entertainment value?
Just entertainment, just pure entertainment. I don't think it was the best in terms of quality. There's definitely, again, it was a lot of individual stuff in my eyes, but in terms of entertainment with how it ended as well, I thought it was the most entertained I've been. For sure.
One of the big individuals I wanted to talk about though was Cryo, because I really feel like the biggest improvement on an individual level has just been his confidence level, not his quality necessarily. We've always known that he's a quality player, but ever since that game, that final map against Crew at the beginning of Super Week, where he just destroyed them on Jet, I feel like he has been playing with a ton more confidence. He just feels like he's taking fights. He's able to get into spots to find value. Maybe part of this is 100 Thieves themselves, like figuring out, giving him more like guidance or something, or setting him up a bit better. But he, on an individual level, when you watch his POV, seems like he's back to being him again, where he's swinging angles and takes fights and feels confident and hits the shots. It just looks very strong.
I feel like he needed this week. Like he really needed this week. Who was it that they played at the beginning when they played Ascent?
Sentinels?
Is it Sentinels?
Oh,
and
against Crew, where they got
their opening
absolutely
match, right?
winced.
Yeah, they got absolutely wrecked, and they didn't bring an op out like the whole time on defense. And I'm just like, what's the point in having Cryo if we're not giving him an op? It's very similar to like the NRG stuff that I was talking about. Like, why have we got Artis if he's not jet opping? Like, what's the point? Just get someone else. And then, so I'm seeing some of these games, and they take so long to get an op into Cryo's hands. And then this is like the first time they had the economy like fully going. And I think sometimes 100 Thieves are like light armor believers, right? They're taking the light armor pill. So a lot of the times they're maybe buying up a lot more, and they don't do that safe for the op. So if they don't get a good start, they don't get the op out. And I think it's just such a big win condition, because he takes over rounds, he takes over maps when he has the op. So yeah, I think I don't know if they talked about it after some of the other games when he hadn't been getting the op out. TDK came in my chat, and I was just like, mate, I was like, get this guy an op. Like, what are you lot playing on? It just looks wild. But they look completely different when they get him on an op. And yeah, like you said, it's a big confidence, because even with rifles and stuff like that, he looked like he was just out dueling a lot of people. So when he's got confidence, this team looks great. And yeah, I think he needed a week like this, so I'm happy for him.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about, you mentioned artists, jet op, that kind of thing. So let's talk about Cloud9 playing against NRG. That was the battle ostensibly for the best NA team, and Cloud9 come out on top. I tell you, my prediction rate has been tanked by Cloud9. They have just obliterated any of my preds. I feel like I've got a good read on where all the other teams are, and I have consistently, cruelly predicted against Cloud9, and they have punished me for it. I predicted against them, I think, in all 3 of their games most recently, the ones that they've won. And the reason being that they just play against, like, in theory, better and better opponents, and they're getting better and better and winning more and more and more. So that, I did not see this coming at all. I really didn't. But you mentioned it a little bit earlier, Sliggy, about how important Leaf and the coaching staff are. I think getting Leaf on main duelist is just a win con for this team against everyone.
He's starting to look like one of the better Jets. Like definitely in the argument for top 5 if we honestly look at what he did. I have big memory of him. We played it at Champs, and I just remember at Champs, I remember looking at the scoreboard at 6 rounds in both maps, and he had 18 or 20 kills within the first 6 rounds, and just being like, damn, we're gonna lose to a guy dropping like 50 kills. Yeah, he just looks incredibly comfortable. It looks like this is, he just looks like a player that can do it all. Really, I really like him on the jet. I really like him on the duelist. He can just take over. He can just take over. He's very smart. He puts in the work. He's mechanically unbelievable. And they're like they're kind of the team that I look forward to watching the most at the moment. To be honest, they have new stuff, like their Ascent's really cool. I know they kind of brought out a new comp, or like, no, I'm pretty sure it's a new comp. I've not seen anyone kind of really do it. I've seen similar, but not the actual full comp. And yeah, I just think it looks great when he's on duelist, and obviously Jake as well, having his kind of first standout performance as well was really, really cool to see. So yeah, I like this team. It's something fresh. It's something new. It's exciting.
Yeah,
I don't know
just,
what Jack Etienne did. Oh, sorry.
You go, Achilles.
I was just like he made a deal with Satan or something, like some fucking higher being. He sacrificed something because it seems like no matter what, whether it's League of Legends, whether it's Valorant, like people always say, oh, Cloud9, they lose the off season because people don't agree with like the roster changes that they make and whatnot, and then they always just go straight in, and then next thing you know, they're the last hope for NA. They're the ones that are crushing, and it never makes sense. You never know how they're doing it. But somehow it always gets pulled off, and they always look incredible. Like there's only been a couple of instances where they really just have actually flopped and failed, and I just don't know what Jack has done. But we need to figure it out.
Well, it's not Jack. Jack
not
has
of this world.
Jack has beefed the budget. MCE's bailed him out.
But Jack's the constant. It goes to League of Legends as well. MCE has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, if it goes to League of Legends, aren't they just known as a team that messes around their contracts a lot, though? Isn't that the real like?
But it works, Josh.
Okay, well, I mean, I feel like the fact that it's working here is just if other teams had done this, if you had done this to another squad that didn't have such a great coaching staff, I feel like they would fall over in this kind of situation.
I
for
agree.
sure.
Like
I do agree.
I mean, they're playing with such like confidence as well. Like they're even adding like little tiny ideas, like doing that Viper molly that destroyed the Killjoy turret, the regular Killjoy turret outside B on Ascent, so that then Leaf can go and swing out without anyone having to actually show that they've destroyed the turret first. Like, you know, just little tiny details. But like, you know, if they were really struggling, if, you know, there was other things to work on, if they had bigger issues, you know, they wouldn't have time to add in these like little tiny things that they're doing. And yeah, like we've seen other teams now like play Viper on Ascent, and, you know, I would say for the most part it has not looked it hasn't been that successful, to be honest. Like most teams that have played it aren't doing that great. But when Cloud9 run it, it's like it looks completely different. It looks like and they're not just like copying, you know, Loud were kind of I think the first team to try Viper on Ascent, like again, you might say. You know, back at Lock-In, and so, you know, other teams have, you know, taken a lot of their ideas, but Cloud9 come up with, you know, some of their own ideas as well. It's not just here's Loud. It's a bunch of different stuff. I remember when you were watching Karmine Corp, Josh, and you said they can't even copy Loud when they played Viper on Ascent, and you're like, they can't even copy the ideas right. But C9, you know, they're like ahead of it. They can come up with their own ideas and make it work as well. So I mean, and it's crazy that Rooney and I almost want to go back and watch some old Sonics VODs to check if Rooney was like, was he actually this good? And like, you know, just no one else saw it, or is it just, you know, a pure confidence thing, and the rest of the team, it's such a good environment that, you know, a lot of people would be able to make it work right now. I don't know, but
people look dramatically different depending on the other players around them as well, don't they? And it's not just that, but a different coaching staff, and probably there is some element of Rooney being good and nobody noticing, because that's one of the things that MCE has also been great at, is finding those kind of diamonds in the rough. But yeah, this comp is nasty good. Again, in that interview that I was talking about before with Brandon Moore, where MCE was talking, he said that Cupid had kind of theory crafted this comp and then saw Loud running the same comp at Lock-In and decided he actually didn't really like some of the stuff that Loud was doing and brought different ideas to the table. For example, that Viper's Pit that Rooney is doing on B. I've never seen anybody do that, and it's crazy good. He's popping it out on site, and he tucks himself into the back of lane. He can see anyone coming from site, and you can't see him, and you also get to watch the lane angle too. It's crazy good. They ran it in both of their games, and then the like sky flash plays through the smoke towards Catwalk, very similar compared to like what you would do with a KO as well, but just worked phenomenally well with Zeppa's Sky. It looks so good from Cloud9. It really does. I do want to spend a moment though talking about NRG, because that was kind of the clash that we saw this week, was Cloud9 playing against some of the other NA teams, but NRG then fixed things up in the game against Crew and just looked. They just put Artist back on Jet and Victor on KO on Ascent, and they just smoked Crew. Does it give you more faith that they're going to go back to their old ways of being a top North American team, a top team in the world? Or do you need to see more? What's the verdict?
I'm convinced. I think they're going. I think they're going playoffs. I think they're going Tokyo. I'll put that out there straight now. Like that's how convinced I am. So in my opinion, they just did the Navi approach, but it kind of backfired a little bit where they're kind of trying some stuff out instead of like comps. It was more roles, and then they always had this to fall back on, and they super feel comfortable with it. It's kind of the only explanation. And then now they kind of got to the point where they're like, okay, we should probably, it's kind of backfired a little bit with like 1-3 or whatever it is. We need to actually win some games. So then they've gone back to the old reliable, and they know it works, and it looks good. And yeah, so the switch has been flipped, and then they've gone back to the comfort, in my opinion. I think we might see some of the changes stick, like maybe some of the Pearl stuff is going to stick. Because I kind of like FNS on Sky and stuff like that. But I think, yeah, I'm confident in them. I was wondering when it was going to happen because, again, I did a big kind of spiel on my stream where I was just like, it doesn't make sense bringing Ardis and having him play all these flex roles. Like, you want to have the jet up on him. That's what he excels at. It's very meta right now. You can run it on every map. So, yeah, I'm super confident in them. I think this is just the start of their recovery. I think they'll be fine.
I still want to see a little bit more against a team not named Crew. I want. It's kind of a shame that this game, like, they were so dominant on the defense side. I kind of wanted to see some of their attack side on Ascent, because I feel like probably one of the reasons that they were doing it is that they probably feel like maybe Victor maybe fits their system better in terms of like an entry on attack side, but Ardis obviously is the better opper on defense side, and obviously we saw Ardis just destroy on the defense side with an op. But I would have liked to have seen, I mean, I assume it would work because Victor has played plenty of KO and Ardis has played plenty of Jet, so I assume it would still be absolutely fine. And it would make sense. And yeah, Ardis just, yeah, like you say, Slee, it's just like it just makes sense. They pressed the "it just makes sense" button, and it just started making sense again. It seems, but it will be interesting to see because. Maybe we had FNS on Killjoy on that map. Like, are they still? But maybe that's because it's Ascent, and maybe they feel like maybe it's a bit easier to call on that map. So FNS doesn't need to be with the team as much because maybe it's a bit more simple for them. Maybe on other maps we'll still see the Killjoy swapping, and like 4 out of 5 of the team playing Killjoy. I don't know. We'll have to see more. But like, it's good that like this wasn't. Close, like especially Ascent. It's good that they just NRG, a good team beat a bad team, and that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like, and that's what it should look like when NRG played Crew.
Yeah, I mean, that is just some semblance of normality restored back to the world, isn't it? At least we've got some normality in some other places too. I do want to hit, though, just on Sliggy's hot take there. I guess it's not that hot, to be honest. At the beginning of the season, that would have been the coldest take in the world.
Yeah,
but at this point, it feels a little spicy. NRG, can we take a look at their upcoming schedule? They play against 100 Thieves, Furia, Loud, EG. And there's actually 4 other teams that are still fighting for those middle of the pack spots. They need probably at least 2 wins. There's still so much up in the air, but I think this middle of the pack spot is probably going to end up being 4 and 5 teams. I mean, it could be 4 or 5 teams that are 4 and 5 in terms of the standings. So where do they get those 2 wins? Is it just over 100 Thieves and EG, and it's easy clap off to the tiebreakers?
I think they might get an advantage by playing Loud late, because if Loud have the top 2 secured by that point, which if Loud is 7-0, they probably will do, Loud might have nothing to play for, and Loud might just not show anything new, just literally like play for fun, not really
They'll
take
troll.
it too. Yeah, just not take it too seriously. So NRG, if like this is true as well for teams that like play Fnatic or DRX in the last couple of weeks, where if they go like 7-0, 8-0, and you play them in the last week, you might just get a much easier game than everyone else against like the best team because they got nothing to play for. And so for NRG, the schedule gods might have done them a solid there.
Fnatic might actually end up playing all of their games in the last week, though, because they're all licking door handles and fucking.
They just simply can't stop. They love the taste of brass. It's just brass in the sweat of 50 strangers' palms. Delicious. Let me lick this for an hour. I don't know what the fuck they do. How is it always them?
I think
No other team is reporting like COVID cases globally, but somehow it's always Fnatic.
It must just be because they're testing more than everybody else, surely. I mean,
Nah,
like,
I
It's,
get maybe they're just responsible and they're just like, oh, I had a slight cough, and they test and it's like, oh, it's COVID.
It's the
Like-
cost of winning. It's the cost of winning at the moment because you have to do meet and greets after you win. So literally, they're winning so
is
much
that
that
the
they
theory?
yeah.
There we
Yeah,
go.
it is.
Right,
Like at
right.
the EMEA thing, you do meet and greets after if you win. And obviously they're winning all the time, and there's loads of people to meet. So yeah, that's the
Just-
cost of winning, pretty much.
all of the fans of the other teams that are playing against them next week are just going, and they're the ones licking the door handles and then going and meet and greeting.
Yeah,
The-
that's the excuse for this one anyway. I don't know what they've been doing for the other ones. Who knows?
All of the pro players are trying to give fist bumps because it's a bit more healthy, and they're double-handed handshaking them. Oh, it's so nice to meet you.
Lick the fucking hands afterward.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about final thing for the Americas. There was history made this week in the opposite of normalcy, the absolute trip to Bizarro land that was EG playing against Loud. This game was, the world first 0-13, at least for the VCT International Leagues this year. We have seen 13-0s in the past at the Tier 1 level, but not since the partnership system, so it feels notable. And it also felt notable in this game because the first map was 13-3 the other
Fucking
way
dominant,
around.
too.
Huh?
I woke up. This is one of those ones where I woke up and I was just like, I'll check the numbers. I know it's going to be a 2-0 for Loud. And then I looked and I almost dropped my phone because I was like, what the fuck has occurred? I don't understand how this is possible.
Yeah, this was truly a bizarre game. And actually, perhaps the most bizarre part of this game was actually the end of Haven, where it felt like every round was just like whatever the most unbelievable thing to happen that could happen just would happen. So, like Comms winning a 1v3, then Aspas is like getting no scopes on people and just going like running around the site and killing everyone. It was just so bizarre from start to finish. It
By
just
the
made
way,
no sense.
do we have that 1v3? If we're able to pull it, which round was it? Let me just have a quick look. It was Haven.
It was
and
the last
round
map that they won.
19. Exactly. It was the last round that they won in the entire series was Comms 1v3. Like he made a deal with the devil that was, please, oh Satan, let me win this 1v3. I don't care if we don't win another round for the rest of my career, but let me win the 1v3. And then that's what happened. He wins this spectacular moment, and then they just... events conspire against them to lose 4 rounds in a row on Haven with some dramatically unbelievable plays from Loud, and then they get 13-0'd.
I've never seen this. I'm watching this for the very first time. So
You haven't seen this? Okay, it's
no.
It's actually an average
Okay.
Jonas clutch. Put this in a TikTok and put Jonas's name on it.
Does he
He's
kill 2
doing
with
the...
darts? Okay, no. I thought he was going to kill a second person with darts, and I was going to lose my mind.
Why does Aspas get off this, by the way?
yeah, and
I don't... what?
Yeah, what? Because the Cloudburst was dropping, I guess?
I don't...
Yeah,
but they
and-
knew
He's
that
on
he
a
was
closer
ulting from
wall.
far away. You can see with the angle of it that he's not close. I mean, that is just like... That's a massive fumble from Loud.
Yeah.
it was,
That looks
yeah.
like, you say Jonas, that reminds me of Esperanza when he was on F4Q. And then on Slayers. Because he has that same
Cut.
setup on Haven, and he also has it on Breeze out of B window. And he does
Yes,
the same
the bounce
bounces.
shock darts. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% Pacific. It's been too much America's talk over here.
At least the fast map was nice. Do you know what I read? I read that George Geddes did a tweet, and it was about like, what was it about? It was like Psycho getting fired, but then Potter's been there for a long time. But he did the tweet like after we saw probably the best anti-strat
after
we've
we
seen
just saw
for a long
Potter
time.
insanely anti the undefeated team in Americas. What?
She just took like the 9th team and just obliterated the best team in Americas, and you go, yep, should probably get fired. Like, what is that take? That one's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, I like watching the split was great though. The split is like a good. This is what I thought they were gonna be like in terms of EG. Just loads and loads of anti that just wins them important rounds, big swing rounds, and they just kind of win all of these crazy rounds, and they're doing all this stuff that doesn't make sense, and it's just all down to anti. Like this was like an old school kind of EG game, really, in terms of like, damn, they're so prep heavy. They've got a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah,
and then it all fell apart. But other than
Yeah.
that, like I was surprised and like it was fun to watch. It was like, damn, this is what prep can do. This was a good signal of, damn, this is how good, like, you can beat the better teams if you have better preps. It was 13-3 and they won pistol. Like they had big rounds where they were literally where they literally have a whole round that kind of counter how they're throwing the orb over towards middle. Like he does the orb and bounces it over the middle, so then he has to run across, and they do a fast timing of a dash and get it out in the open with Astra Suck. And like you do that in the big important round, that then pushes them down to an eco. Like all of this stuff is all prep heavy. It was sick. And then you had like the judge close the round before this. They stunned, knew it was there. Like the prep works here is incredible. So
when Aspas tried to take a ramp, they used the Trailblazer, got the stun on him. Like there's just so many moments.
Like it was a textbook anti-strike game. I thought it was really, really cool.
Which is weird because this is Loud's map pick. So maybe EG were planning on picking this anyway with how much prep they had, but Loud took it from them.
Could have been that. Could have been third map potentially, like no matter what. So
maybe George Skeds just had a scheduled tweak because he assumed that they were going to lose 2-0.
Yeah, he assumed they were going to get destroyed.
It just went out, and then he realized after the fact.
Yeah,
I had to call it out after seeing it. But yeah, the 13-0 was just, you could feel it early on. You could feel that they were not even like getting close to winning rounds.
We came out the end of that cast, and Bren said, "I hate it when teams waste my time." And I was like, how can that be your takeaway from this game? I thought this was one of the most fun games that I'd ever casted because it had everything. It had everything in one game. You had the sick anti-strat upset, the underdog against the top team. Then you had a really back and forth game on Haven with like bonkers, ludicrous shit happening all over the place. And then you just get this resounding shit stomp at the end where the top team kind of earns the fact that they are the top team and shows you why that's the case. And you get to keep all of the nice narratives about Loud still being undefeated whilst being more excited about EG because they demonstrated something good. I thought this was the perfect series. If I could have ordered it from a restaurant, this is what I would have gone for.
It was so painful though watching this map of Pearl sometimes because like then when anytime you saw like, oh, there's about to be a 1v1, it was like, you just knew, like, there was no way the Loud were gonna lose it. Like, anytime there was a fight coming up, you just felt like, well, this is it. I mean, even like, I think it's the last round is round 12, where they had like a 2v4, and it was like, this is the round that we win for EG.
Yeah.
This is the one. They had like a harbor ult going on the site. It was like the spike was down, like in a pretty bad spot. You just felt like this is the chance, and it goes down to that 1v1 at the end.
Cowan Z versus Ethan.
And then he flashes up high, and Ethan's just completely blind and lost. Oh, it was so painful.
Yeah, just absolutely brutal. But I mean, what is your mental like, Sliggy, as a coach? How do you get your players after a loss like that to focus on the fact that you did really well in that game and not just be like the mocking, the whole community's mocking you for getting 13-0'd, but you actually pushed the top team really far.
Yeah. This is easy though. This one's a good one. Like I'm telling you, the mental boom, losing overtime or 11-13 is way worse than this. Like a 0-13, you can just laugh about it. And like, yeah, we suck at this map. Like it's fine. let's have some good timings. Less owned us. Like you can just look at that and just be like, yeah, fair play. But like the 11-13s, the overtimes, so just every single person, like just thinking of like, damn, I should have played this round differently.
Exactly. Because then you're looking at like, oh, this round, if we had just won this round, whereas it's like, well, motherfuckers, we didn't win any of the rounds. So
you're never gonna go, damn, if only I won this, we would have got one round. Like no one cares about it. It's just a good laughing thing. So honestly, in terms of the mental, this is like, it's a better outcome than getting a real close game, to be honest with you.
There's the silver lining. Sliggy, you're always providing us with the silver linings for the teams. Exactly. That's what I appreciate. I mean, this clutch does take a while, actually. So I think we can just savor it. The only other discussion point to this is, does it change the way that you think about Loud? Does it change the way you think about their map pool, maybe, and how easy they are to anti? Are there any real takeaways here that scuff the undefeated team?
Maybe they'll look into, because at least from what I could see, is after the split, they changed up a lot of their Haven at the beginning. Yeah, this was nuts. This was like their last chance into it. Ethan did an instant decision make to just go over towards middle as well. The reposition was great. And the timing was just slightly off every single time. Just nothing was going right for them. But yeah, I think they actually learned instantly when they went over towards split, and they were just like, they antied everything. Let's change how we play up for the first 6 rounds or so. And we kind of saw that. It wasn't anything drastic, but definitely I think their original playstyle of how they were going to play it, and I don't think they wanted to change too much against EG. I think they actually had to think about it going into Haven and was just like, right, let's make sure we don't start this game how we have on other games. Let's change it up a little bit.
The 13-0 was actually so puggy. Like, it was just so less running at them at various places and winning duels.
Yeah.
It wasn't very structured.
Can I just hijack this and just talk about how much of a bad maps Pearl is? Like honestly, like, can we I know this gets a lot of eyes on it. Can we start like making a thing? Because like Pearl B is the worst designed bit of any map I've seen. Like, just get a plant down. Yeah, just get a plant down and then it's done. You're gonna win every after plant. You can just have a molly there. If literally if there's a Viper and you have a smoke on it, you can't win the round. Like, you just have mollies coming in and then you got to spam, and it's just a spam fest. Like, let's change something about this map. It's shit.
There does seem to be a massive problem at the moment in Valorant with the amount of rounds that are just decided by people spraying on the not just the post plants, but like it's just the double controller meta at the moment. It creates these situations all over the place where you've got smokes, walls, double Vipers pit happening, and the rounds are just like, what? Let's go. Let's have a little spray and pray battle. But yeah certainly maps
not good
designed
to
like
watch.
Pearl B doesn't help.
Yeah, but they can just do an easy change. Like, someone in my chat said, like, move the plant spot just so it's like more in sight, or at least just add something over towards long B, or just anything over towards B, because it is like you're seeing that it doesn't make sense because there's 4 choke points and then you're all spread out so much, so you can't really punish these areas too much on defense unless you have a sentinel, and then even then you can only really punish with like a few people, and then you're like risk taking, and it's really bad, not good.
It like forces you to play in such a, like, Cloud9 had speaking of Cloud9 again, they had a really good plan where they were just playing like super aggro down B. But basically that means that you have to play retake on A like every single round, which they were. They were just like happy to just play complete retake because they knew, well, if we let them plan B, we've lost.
Yeah.
We just lost. So we might as well just play retake on A where we have at least a semblance of a chance and just, fight as hard as we can for B. I mean, yeah, it's just a nightmare. It feels like, with the Harbor Viper, teams have just realized there's no way of stopping this if you play even somewhat normally. So we're just going to do it. We just need a team to do it 12 rounds in a row. Like, just literally, just 5 stack, go B, 5 times in a row. Don't do anything else. And then after the fact, just tweet at Riot. Just be like,
I think some of the teams are really good at those B retakes too, with how aggressively they play with the Viper and the Harbor Wall and stuff. Like, we've seen Leviatan and Loud get really good with those B retakes, but I still don't like it. Like, to me, it's not the fact that the post plant is unlosable. That isn't the issue. To me, it's just that you're incentivized to play it in the same way every time. That, I think, is the lack of having strategical variety is the thing that bugs me more so than anything. In fact, I actually quite like the way that some of the teams approached it this week by like the way that Sentinels were hard anchoring instead of playing retake on both sites was pretty interesting when they played it against Loud. And then the heavy like pushing out and flank retaking from both sides that Cloud9 did, I think it was quite interesting too. But most teams are just playing it so default. Feels like Icebox all over again.
Yeah, and that's the problem. It feels like Icebox. It just it's not good to watch. It's a really bad map to watch. Like, I'm there literally in the map vetoes, like, please no Pearl. Like, that's kind of why I like Pacific. Pacific at the moment is just Haven and Ascent every map, and I'm just like, hey, I'm fine for this. And then we get to Americas.
A lot more split Icebox too recently. Well,
yeah, that's actually true.
Not Icebox anymore. Yeah. I mean, also, there's a lot of growing dissent around Ascent. You're trying to start your own Pearl revolution out here, Sliggy. There is a ton of people that are down for Ascent being removed, and I think they're smoking.
I mean, Ascent's a great map.
Yeah.
Oh no, I've been on the early I don't like Ascent train. It's mostly from like, I mean, at least we've got like, it's not as bad now that you do have like some variation. But I've got sick of watching the same exec over again by that like comp that everyone has ran for ages. Like Chamber actually saved Ascent. It created like a bit of difference on Ascent. There was something new to it. But now that then the Chamber went again, and then everyone's just gone back to 2021.
People running the Viper here now, though.
Yeah, that's potentially saving it, but still, I mean, most teams are not running that, and you still get a ton of just the same stuff.
Ascent, Josh might be the only person who catches this reference, but Ascent kind of almost reminds me of GOATs in Overwatch, where it's typically mirrored, and it all just comes down to who has like cleaner execs and everything, cleaner retakes. Like in that regard, where it's a little bit more like chess-like rather than, you know, because you take out the variation, it all comes down to like actual execution in the game. I kind of have that sense from it.
I don't mind that, but it does get a little bit tedious to watch.
Let's move on from the map talk and talk predictions. We've got still quite a bit to get through, and I want to release Sliggy before the Liquid game. So let's rattle through these America's predictions for this week.
I forgot EMEA's on.
Kurt has been working super week, and if any of these are broken, it's not his fault. Fuck you. Okay. First game. First game, NRG versus 100 Thieves. Let's roll it. Who did people go with? We've cursed them again. We've cursed them again.
Well, have we done that?
This doesn't feel like a guaranteed game. I mean,
no, not at all.
I thought one of you was going to go for 100 Thieves. I thought we were fine.
That's why I said NRG, because I was thinking that I wasn't going to be...
Shit, maybe I should go for 100 Thieves then.
Fuck.
I was kind of convinced with NRG's like return to form on Ascent. And even with the 100 Thieves wins, they just play the first half of their games. Like the win that they had over Crew, the first half was so shit.
Yeah.
I guess their Lotus, though, their win over Leviatan, I mean, they've beaten Leviatan, NRG lost to Leviatan, maybe.
Yeah.
None of us are inclined to change.
Mel would have picked 100 Thieves, that's all I'm saying. I think you would have saved it.
This is why I brought you three on, is to harness Mel's power.
Sure, I'll take the
You don't have to. Don't let me force you.
I like Mike's enough to swap my pred.
that really is. That really is a Mel pred.
That's it. That's all I got. I can't claim to be close to Chet, but I like Mike's.
Let's move on to the next one then. Next game that's coming up. It's a battle between the two Brazilian teams for second and third in the region. MIBR versus Furia.
I'm getting ready to smile.
Yep.
Some of these games are going to be pretty close.
MIBR went 0-2 this week. I could see them maybe upsetting, but I think MIBR are actually settling into like they're actually not that great of a team, but they've got upset chances against the top teams because they can just be on fire sometimes.
I think Furia didn't look good.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree that Furia didn't look amazing either, but I think maybe an all Brazilian matchup, we just get a bit of a brawl. You know, it just turns into just a full brawl fest, and I would say Furia probably would win a brawl fest. So,
yeah, I think they like the scrappiness.
Yeah,
I think it's.
I think both of these teams do.
Honestly, I think that's just.
This will be some real jail Valorant. I think it really will. All right, let's go from the Brazilian matchup to the North American matchup. It's Cloud9 versus Sentinels. Ooh, finally. Okay. Now, I just want to lay out my thought process first here. I've voted against Cloud9 the entire time, and I've always been wrong. So Sentinels are probably going to win this game. But the reason that I finally converted is because I just can't argue with it anymore. I can't, my expectations were in the floor. The bar was actually on the floor, and they've just raised it and 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 raised it. And now it's at the point where even though Sentinels are a really good team and they have chances to win, I can't justify rooting against Cloud9. Or not, it's not that I was rooting against them, but I can't justify predicting against them because they've just showcased such excellent gameplay.
Sure.
I agree. I actually picked Cloud9 to win both of their games in Super Week. So it's not like I haven't been on the Cloud9 train, and I think that they are probably playing better. And I actually don't even know. I was kind of coming into this with that Marv will play. If Marv doesn't play, I'd probably say C9 would win. But I'm thinking that Marv maybe will play. That's what I'm hoping, at least for Sentinels, because I think that would help them. And when I it's kind of my pred here was more of like a cosmic balance type thing where could I see Cloud9 being a 4-2 team? Yeah. Could Sentinels be 3-3? Yeah, sounds about right. And that means Sentinels have to win.
Sometimes it works. You invent your own gambler's fallacy in Valorant predictions, and sometimes it ends up aligning. But this also works because you and I are both in agreement that if Marv doesn't play, that C9 takes this, which then also creates a Plat chat guarantee. Because we're then under those circumstances, we're all predicting for C9, so Sentinels win anyway.
An anti-10s Plat chat guarantee.
I mean,
That's crazy.
I kind of went for C9 because I thought that Marv won't be playing. So I'm kind of on board with it as well.
We're just predding wherever the Iceman's going to be. All right, let's move on to the next game. It's Leviatan playing against Evil Geniuses. Can they come out with the genius anti-strat this time? Or are they going to waste Bren's time again? Oh! Off the photo. Can EG bring it out again here? Do they have a chance?
No. Lev need to win, man.
I think Lev would have to royally shit the bed.
Leviatan are a team that are very like structured in the way that they play and approach things in similar ways each time.
Mhm.
That is something that they could try to hard anti.
Yeah.
But can they do? My question would be, can you do it for all 3 maps though?
That's what I was going to say. I think they can get a map from that. I think it can be like Loud-esque again. You can get a map. Maybe they'll win a map convincingly. But yeah, like TMP said, like can you do that on 2 maps in a row? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
A lot of work. It's a lot of work for however long they've got, like 5 days, 6 days.
Yeah. Loud have only ever lost to 3 teams in the history of the organization. One is Optic, one Fnatic at Lock-In, and the other, the team that they're playing against this week. It's Loud, the top team in Americas, against Crew, the bottom team in Americas. Now, if there was ever a game to ruin your power rankings, it would be this one.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's just there's no way. I can't see it happening in any circumstances.
Yeah, this would be the biggest upset of the year, probably, considering where both teams kind of are. How are they going to win this game? Give me a map that they win.
Split.
Icebox.
All right, we got 2.
I'm changing my bet.
Icebox isn't even in.
No, I know. So it's the one map that's out.
They could win Bind, couldn't they?
Maybe.
Wait, but Bind's not out, right? It's 1 more week of Icebox.
Wait, is it?
Am I wrong?
No, it's next week, I
I
think.
think it's 1 more week for EMEA.
This week for us.
Wait, it's
Like
different for...
No, I thought it was everybody on the same one. I thought it was all this week.
6. Week 6, right?
We're starting.
We're
week
all
6.
lost in the sauce.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Americas
it's next
is
week.
not starting week 6 because they started a week after EMEA and NA though. So
Bro,
everyone's on week
don't
5.
ask me. You've confused
Oh,
me. I
fuck
thought
you.
everyone was on next week.
I'm confident saying it's still Icebox. Pretty confident.
I know that
All right,
Pacific
well,
has.
I think
Pacific has
Loud
Bind.
will
You can
win
take that.
either way.
Yeah, I'll take the hit. I'm telling you, it's next week. I'll
Okay.
take the hit. I'll make a decision.
All right. Okay. Sliggy's in charge now. Good. Let's move on then to talking about the Pacific region. That's right, Pacific fans. You're not getting baited this week. We're going to talk about it. Woohoo!
Yay! I'd hope
All right.
so with me being here. Imagine if I showed up just to fucking troll everybody else.
That would be
to
quite
give them
funny.
false hope.
Just lure all the Pacific fans in and then don't talk about it anyway.
Perfect.
The first thing I wanted to talk about was the banger of a match that we had this week between DRX and Gen.G, because DRX are going on the same kind of run that they've been on basically every tournament they've ever been in where they play against their like domestic rivals. They just win against everybody, and nobody really ever seems to compete against them, apart from occasionally another Korean team will rear its head, like Onslayers or, whatever else. I guess, what were some other teams that even did well against Vision Strikers in the past? I can only think of
F4Q is the one who beat them
That's
first.
Right, yeah. Like
That's it.
And then we had
Untouchable.
ZF Gaming took a map off them. That's when we had best of.
This is how
best of-
notable
They
it
took
is.
a map off them.
They took-
That's how
well,
notable
like,
it is.
It was when we had the best of 2 system or whatever, where you had to play 2 maps guaranteed. There was no third.
Oh, yeah. That
all
was
the way
so
back
weird.
in like stage 1. in 2021, and ZF Gaming took a map off of them, and that was it. But it didn't count as a match win, so their win streak was preserved.
Yeah. So they had a lossless streak, but not a win streak or something. Yeah, very silly.
Yeah,
very silly.
they had dropped the series for like 100-something matches or whatever the fuck it was. But
So- Yeah, this is. I feel like DRX are a very interesting team because they've been running a lot of Foxy 9, and that means that they've been straying away from some of the comps that you would expect them to run with that other roster a little. But talk to me about this fracture map, Seth, because Gen.G were able to get the win over DRX there, despite really being out of it in the other two maps. It's not like it was a series where Gen.G could have won. I didn't feel, but it was one where they got a map.
Yeah, I mean, their run back on Haven definitely makes it feel a little bit more winnable, but they also played an 11-1 half at the beginning of Haven, so the fact that they were able to get to 7 was pretty miraculous at the end. But the Fracture was really well prepared. This was also a slight adjustment to the composition that we saw from DRX, because typically you have the Fade is in the mix, obviously Zest is there. And one of the things that I was asking when we saw that Fracture was going to be in the pool was, is Zest going to be subbed in on this map? Or have they really worked out this double duelist setup? Because double duelist is not something that DRX has ever really filled with. It's never been in their wheelhouse. And I think that this map kind of showed that it's still something that very much requires more attention for them to, become super optimal and to want to run this against teams internationally. I think that DRX is one of those teams where even though they are super far ahead, they might not want to show strategies, but they do still want to maintain, their lossless record. They always want to be dominating. They always want to be able to pick up wins. But they definitely took this series seriously. We kind of saw that from the outset. But I think that they did decide to experiment around a little bit here. By having the Neon come back in. And it was, I forget exactly when, I'd have to look it up, but this is the first time that DRX has lost with their Neon comp on Fracture since they lost to FPX at Copenhagen. So, just with Neon in general in their composition on this map, this is the first time that they've dropped it since then. So it's been so dominant, but I think that having the double duelist, they just don't have this up to snuff enough to be able to contend with a team as good as Gen.G on that map in particular.
Yeah, I remember at lock-in, they weren't running Neon, I think, at first on Fracture.
The first time when they ran it versus Talon, they didn't, and then we were begging for it versus Loud, and they played it and they won that map.
Yeah, and because RB's Neon is just, even though Neon has kind of faded somewhat, RB's Neon movement is just different. He's just he just is insane, and so it'll be interesting to see. Is Zest just out? Do you know? Is Zest just out, or is there a possibility
that seems to be the case?
He could come back? Because with their, you're saying a Neon comp, this is the first time they lost, but with Zest in there playing the Fade and having RB just be a missile going in, it's all, especially on their attack side. Sometimes it just looks like you can't beat, there's just no way you can beat them. But we should also give props to Gen.G because the Haven and the Pearl. Pearl particularly, I was like, they're just not in this game. The Haven, I feel like they threw some early advantages, they were in 5v3s, they were in 4v2s, and they just couldn't win rounds early on in that Haven map. And then it felt kind of maybe a bit inevitable, they start thinking we're just gonna get destroyed here, and then they just couldn't ever pull it back. But on Fracture, they looked good, and this is DRX's map pick as well. So they just look good.
But also, this was the first time that they played Fracture since having Foxy 9 in the lineup, right? So they don't really know how good they are here, except for scrim results.
Yeah, which is why I think that they were definitely tooling around with this one a little bit more and willing to play this map a bit more loosely. But one of the things to just continue to kind of pick up Gen.G on that map that really impressed me was Eco, because Eco prior, he basically really only shows up on Fracture and a couple other maps where they feel like he has a better understanding of initiator setups compared to Sylvan. But Eco typically is not has not been a very heavy fragger for Gen.G so far in Pacific, and on that map he actually was doing quite well. So I will say that he individually looked a lot better, and that was another big kind of swing aspect to Gen.G being able to get this, because I think that you probably could have seen DRX picking up more rounds and potentially closing this if Eco wasn't fragging as hard as he was.
Yeah, I was impressed with. So I was impressed with DRX, obviously on their poll again. They definitely are the best. I think Gen.G should have won this game. I think they should have won Haven. Looking back at Haven, it's what TMV said. Literally, my stream was like watching a TMV stream. I was just mauled him for the first 5 rounds. Like, what the hell was going on? It's literally a textbook example of how not to play Valorant. It was awful. Literally, like the pistol round. They lost like a 2-on-4, and they just like 2 people just played just overpeak, just gave them 2 kills back into the 2-on-2, and then they get into the first buy round against the bonus, and they do something similar. And I'm just there, just like, this is horrendous. Like how, and then obviously you give DRX an advantage like this, and they're just going to snowball everything. They had all advantage everything, and they just lost within the first 4 rounds. And I genuinely think if Gen.G didn't lose the pistol and actually won their first buy, I think they would have won this whole map. So yeah, this was like a good example of how not to play Valorant and how it will backfire if you mess up like literally 2 rounds. That's all they did. They misplayed 2 rounds, but like really misplayed these 2 rounds, and it cost them. But yeah, I like this team. I predicted this team to win. I think they could have. I still think they're gonna look great. They're gonna keep on improving. But yeah, it was horrendous. It was. I woke up early to watch it, and I wish I didn't get out of bed. I can't honestly. It was bad.
My hope is, since there's a core of Onslayers that's here on this roster, different coaching staff and whatnot, but like TS primarily being that main guy from Onslayers as the shot caller. I'm hoping that we have almost like the inverse of what happened in stage 2 last year, because at the beginning. In the first half of the round robin, Onslayers beat DRX. And then the next time that they faced, they bombed out. And then they went into the playoffs and they played against Smart Gaming and they bombed out. I'm hoping that this is them getting those jitters out of the way, first and foremost. And then when we get ready to move into the playoffs and everything like that, and they potentially have to play against DRX once again, whether it's in an upper bracket final or if they go to the grand final, whatever, I'm hoping that they're more prepared, they're more at ease, and that they don't make those critical mistakes that they made at the beginning of Haven to let that map be able to get away from them, and that they are able to play it closely, because every single player on that team is incredible. I'd say that, as far as like Korea goes, in particularly for like the last several years, each of those players is basically number 2 in their role for each role, and then number 1 is just DRX. Like they do play them very closely. So I'm hoping that we see a bigger challenge from them in the future. So hopefully it's just first time meeting, call it a mulligan, move on, go into the next one, and then be able to actually play to your full potential.
Yeah,
I mean, the hopium for the hopium for Gen.G though for me is they still look like the second best team. Like, yes. I don't have any qualms that they're still the second best team. And if you finish in the top 2, you only have to win 1 game that won't be against DRX, and then you're at Tokyo. So, like, for Gen.G making it to Tokyo, like, they should be sailing.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think so. Now, one of the things that I am interested to hear your input on, though, Achilleos, is why are they messing with this 6-person roster? And in fact, why are so many teams in Pacific so convinced to run... Like, actually take a look at the T1 Gen.G, which one was it? The Global Esports. Global Esports against Paper Rex. What in the fucking, there's 13 people in this fucking game from 9 countries playing 1 game of Valorant. What is happening? And like, this doesn't make sense to me. And also the Sylvan Eco thing, again, doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you have players that are playing the same roles, you should be trying to narrow that down, not widen it out, I don't think.
There's a lot of teams that are doing this. T1's obviously doing it with Ban and Intro, and like Ban has also been playing Jet on like Fracture in particular, which has been like really wishy-washy. But I think that GE especially, for the most part, it seemed like that opening week when we had Lightning Fast and Rossi finally out here, it seemed like things were good, and it was like, oh yeah, like they can make these rotations work. And then we got into this week's versus Paper X. It went the distance, and it felt like having Rossi not be on stage for like an entire week. Who knows how much scrim time he's getting? I imagine they're trying to balance it out quite well. But I think basically the pressures of him then coming into that series versus Paper X, after not having been on the stage for an entire week, having to try to close out a third map, like he just didn't perform to the level that we have seen him perform to in the past. and it felt like that this was the first really big indicator of like, okay, this many rotations very much can be detrimental. Like we've already seen like, smaller examples of it. I think, ban intro, Sylvan Eco to a significantly lesser extent, but this was the first time when I was just like, oh, this was not great. I like the lightning fast and the Rossi adjustments for like just kind of like split in particular, where it's like, okay, we are 100% running a raise here. Lightning fast comes into play raise. I think that is okay. But I think that if they're going to be doing this like 3-way musical chairs act, that it's going to continue to not necessarily work out for them.
They also just look like they're absolutely drenched in the sauce. Like, dude, Texture's playing Killjoy, then Sage, and then out for the third map. By the way, that's your Jet main, the guy that's been popping the fuck off. Cigarettes is playing map 1 for Paper Rex. Isn't he a streamer? Well, I thought they signed him as a fucking like marketing thing at the beginning of the year as their extra player. I was absolutely befuddled watching this game.
Forsaken.
I was looking at this game like, I don't even know what I can take away from this. This is just bonkers. Like, are we ever going to see these same rosters or same comps again in the future? It just felt like a trip down the fucking rabbit hole. Like I was about to spot Tweedledum and Tweedledee in a grinning cat. Like I'd taken way too many mushrooms, taking a trip with Alice. It was fucking bizarre.
So Forsaken had said in an interview that basically, we have to call him CGRS. CGRS.
Oh, he's gone from cigarettes to cigars. Why is he made that?
We have to just say the letters because we can't promote tobacco products on the broadcast. So you have to say CGRS. So when you're casting his gecko on Bind or some shit at Tokyo, if they can make it, Josh, you have to call him CGRS. But basically, they said like he's been playing Gecko. We wanted to give him some stage time, and Icebox is getting rotated out, so he said, "Fuck it."
Who runs this team? Who runs this fucking team, and how are they still in third place with a good good round differential? I'm gonna fucking maul. It's so silly. They just have such whimsy.
It's just that it comes up as well. It's not like, okay, if Icebox ever comes up, we'll let you play. It's, no, we'll pick Icebox for you as well. It's our map pick. We're confident we'll win their map pick in case we lose. It's just, but this was just every Paper Rex game, pretty much. They're making the same, like, crazy decisions sometimes, getting away with it because they got better players that are just, something will just push something and then, hey guys, got 3 kills, win the round. Yay!
Something and pushes something, gets something, easy.
Yeah. And that is literally it. Or Jing will just go off and it's
Did we have his triple kill on that map? Because good God. Something had like the fucking nuttiest...
the one on Icebox?
The Icebox just triple blade updraft kill. It was fucking nasty.
Let me see if I can find which round it is for Kurt while you talk about it.
It was really good. And they still like somehow like just lost that map even though he was pounding like crazy. Oh, never mind. It was because they had CGRs playing Gecko. But
at least
I don't know. There's some really
round
weird
18, I think.
At least they have a lot of confidence though. Like I like not that I recommend doing it, but I like that they knew that they were going to win the other 2 maps, so they thought that they could get away with it. It seems like every region has that one team at the moment that is starting the split off a little bit risky.
Goofy.
Navi, NRG, and now we got this with Paper X.
All right, I want to hit the power rankings for APAC. We haven't done these, and I want to make sure that we have them in a place where we've done our due diligence. And I'm going to ask you I'm going to pepper some questions in there as well about where we think teams are going to go and how we think, what chances they have of climbing up or down. But to me, this is one of the most difficult regions to rank because I haven't watched as much of it. And there's some silly stuff happening over there at times.
Talon just beat Zeta.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Talon just got their first win after Zeta started looking decent enough to maybe make a run into playoffs. So... Head scratcher.
Helps when you don't play triple duelist though. That does help.
It
helps
does.
when you go back to just a real comp.
They actually made sense for once.
Let's put DRX in number 1. Right?
First and 10th, very easy. First
Yeah,
and 10th are
first and
very
10th.
Second is
easy.
easy for me as well. Put Gen.G in
So,
second.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you can very easily go DRX, Gen.G, and then
Detonation 10.
you put Detonation 10.
No,
No.
not 10. Detonation.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And now,
Ridiculous,
Yeah.
by the way.
And
the
now we
talent-
begin.
And now, see, I would say third Paper Rex, even though, like,
Yeah.
the fact that they managed to do stuff, like the fact they're feeling confident enough to do this
Yeah.
stuff and do the gecko
Yeah.
and get cigars or cigarettes or whatever they want to call them. Like, I think they're, I think it speaks volumes. Honestly, I really do.
a reluctant third, I agree.
Fletcher?
No, I mean, there
almost-
isn't another team. There isn't another
Okay,
team
yeah.
that would be contesting it for third. Well, what annoys me
It would
is
have to
that
be
they
T1.
control so hard and still be on the podium.
Yeah, but that's the split. That's what that's how some teams do it.
Yeah.
It's better now than at the lands or in the playoffs.
I guess the next teams are like T1 and Secret to be debating over, right? Like, I think Secret had a really good start, and T1 have just been getting some sneaky, decent wins.
See, I don't know. Like T1, I watched them play Gen.G, and I was just like, I mean, I know Gen.G are good, but like they got it wasn't close.
Oh, yeah,
right?
flattened.
Like yeah, they got absolutely destroyed. Both maps, it was just like easy thing. And to me, like that's like, when a team gets like destroyed both maps, that shows me like, oh, there's a golfing class here, which is why it's such a problem ranking this team, because then T1 win the next game, and it's like, are T1 the fourth best team, but just got absolutely destroyed by the second best team? Like, it's such a... These teams, put them in whatever order, and I'll probably sign off on it, because I honestly have no idea.
That's genuinely not that bad of an idea. I mean, I think that you would have to say, like...
Let's start from
Whatever.
the bottom. Let's start from the bottom. I feel like it might be a little bit easier, because
Yeah.
are we going to give Talon any credit for what they've done in the past, or they win against ZETA, or are we just going to put them in ninth for hyper trolling their games?
I think that as far as growth that I've seen consistently, Talon bottoms out. So I would put them in ninth. I think that
I'd put them above
I think-
GE.
See, I think they looked
Above
decent against a Zeta that
Yeah.
didn't look good. Like,
If-
I don't
if-
think that, like, Depp did not have a strong game. Like, it felt like basically Laz was like the only person really playing in that last series, for a lot of it. Whereas I feel like Global have had way higher highs, pushing DRX, getting that 15-17 loss on split to DRX and pushing them in kind of both of those maps. Zeta have shown higher peaks. Talon also apparently weren't trolling when they played the triple duels. Apparently they legitimately thought it was good.
No.
They were.
They are trolling. They just don't think they're trolling.
No, sorry.
They are
yes,
in
they were playing
in an
it seriously, is what I
objective,
mean to
like the cosmic universal sense. They are trolling. In a subjective, we don't know what we're doing. They weren't trolling. Same with Karmine Corp. They're not
God,
deliberately
it's tough.
trolling.
I mean, Talon are
But-
trolling less than Carmine.
I mean, yeah.
But you're talking about peaks, Achilleos. Like, if you do take lock-in into account, Talon's peak has been better than probably like a decent amount of those teams. It's just whether you believe
Sure.
that that's who they are, or are they the team that started Pacific?
I guess I mean more like consistency in like peak play right now in Pacific, whereas Talon has had like this one match where they looked really good, and it was against a Zeta who have typically looked good, but then in that matchup particularly looked poor. And just general growth. Like, obviously, any amount of growth that Talon has off of like triple duelist split looks immensely better. But I think compared to the growth that I've seen from like RRQ over time, I would put Talon below RRQ. I think that I would put them still below Zeta, Secret, T1. I think the only one that you could argue for is maybe Global after their most recent series, but I still feel like I've seen more from Global. I don't know.
Yeah, I would be very happy with putting Talon in ninth place. My big question is around RRQ as well. They had that one game that really blew everyone's expectations away, where they beat Team Secret.
Yeah.
And aside from that, haven't they just been bottom feeding the entire time?
Yeah. They gave
They
me
just got 2-0 by
the
T1.
yeah. They gave me the Furia moment where you lot were all hyped up on the Furia. I had that with RRQ, and I'm just like, damn, this is it. It's all clicked. They're gonna be unbelievable.
Yeah, but they
and
look
then-
so
Yeah.
good.
And then this week was horrendous again. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, damn, what's going on?
Or were you overrating
this-
them by putting them in seventh?
Maybe.
I don't even know if it matters, just because once you're out of...
That's so true. Nothing that we do matters.
Once you're
It's
out
a
of the top
light
six,
entertainment podcast about Valorant, ranking teams that have no chance of making the playoffs. Anyway, you're completely correct.
I don't even mean that, but I just mean that, like, for me, I think it's more about just like, do we feel confident about the teams that are in the top 6? Because those are the ones that are going to playoffs. If we're overrating RRQ by putting them in 7th, I don't think it matters because they're not in the playoffs.
All right,
that's what I mean to say.
I think that's fair.
Fair. Now let me try and throw some throw some tier breaks in here. I feel like I would put a Paper X a tier break between Gen.G and Paper X, and then put another tier break after Paper X and Team Secret. I think Paper X belong in their own little Paper X tier of idiocy, where they're either idiotic or brilliant. You know, it's just madness or genius, and the thin line between it.
Yeah, I think that's good. The only thing I would honestly change about this is T1 and Secret. Like, I think T1 are better than Secret, personally.
What's the reason in there?
I just think they just look way better. Like, they really do.
Wow, that's really good analysis, Sliggy. Thank you.
do you not think, though, like, T1's had one bad week, really, and then you kind of look at their performances every other time, they've looked really, really good. I think they look consistent. I think they are getting better as long as we take out the Gen.G game. As long as we
they had the Paper Rex game as well, where they also got
Yeah.
rolled by Paper Rex when something came in and just
Oh, okay, yeah, that's true.
like
I think
destroyed them. But
That's
that's what I'm so weird about.
They don't know
T1.
how to counteract aggression.
The Team Secret
Like-
have been slowly going
No,
down.
I agree with you that I'm not like, this is the problem. I'm not high like the top 3, and then I'm not like high on any of the other teams.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
I'm
Don't
just
have
like
strong opinions on it.
Team Secret have a really interesting strength of schedule where they've been able to get their wins over Talon, who were looking dreadful at the time, Paper X, who were going all over the place at the time, and then Detonation Focus Me. They lost to RRQ, and their upcoming games are all games that they could lose. Team Secret are playing against ZETA, T1, DRX, and Global. I mean, apart from maybe the game against Global, those are all, I mean, or the game against ZETA, I suppose, but I feel like T1 and DRX, they're not favored, and then the ZETA Global game, they could definitely lose those as well, couldn't they? There's a chance
But they
that
could also
Secret
win.
just go,
That's the thing. Like, could they easily beat Zeta? Yeah. Like, it's like one of those things where, other than the DRX game, other than playing DRX, Detonation, maybe Gen.G, the rest of it, honestly, I couldn't say I'm super heavy leaning one way or the other. Like, RRQ played an insane game and then got destroyed. T1 are getting destroyed, and then they play a really good game. It's like, you know, that's just these teams in the middle. It's just who turns up on the day. Like, you know, are they playing well that day? Who knows?
I literally said on the desk, I was on the analyst desk for T1's most recent series, and I said I'm predicting them because I don't think that they're going to play like ass cheeks a third time in a row. That was my logic for predicting them, because I just like, there's no way that they're just this bad 3 times in a row.
Okay.
But it is that inconsistent. Like, it is that random. I would probably put ZETA in 5th, and then Secret in 6th, and then maybe leave the rest as it is, because again, I don't think it fully matters that much.
Okay.
T1 could fall as far as 6th in my opinion, and with Secret and ZETA above them. But I think that this is probably for the top 6 at least, like as close as you're going to be able to get it.
I have one final question here that's not going to change the rankings at all. I'm fine to, I mean, actually, let's throw a tier break between Global and Talon or something, or somewhere towards the bottom there. But
Detonation.
Yeah, just put Detonation
Could just
on their own or
isolate
something.
Detonation.
Oh,
Yeah,
God,
honestly, I think it's fair at this moment.
all right.
Even though they did have a very entertaining series.
My question to the 3 of you is, if we're ranking ZETA somewhere between 6th, 5th, that kind of area, is there a chance that we see ZETA at Tokyo? Is there any hope for seeing a Japanese team at Tokyo? And if so, how do they get there?
I mean, I think yes. And I think that we'll get a better sense of ZETA and whether or not that is a very real possibility after their next matchup. Who do they even play, actually?
They play against Secret. It's a really important game.
Right. I think if they come out and they look like their previous selves, I think that they're in with a pinch. Because so far, like, they've had 2 poor series, one against a team that is highly anticipated that they were going to look poor against, which was DRX, and then one against a team that was definitely performing back at like their lock-in form, kind of, not even really in Talon. Like, Talon just generally played pretty decently, and Secret didn't show up. Like, Depp had a really poor series, this whole way throughout. Whereas in every other matchup, basically, he's been pounding. He has been crushing in regards to like first kill trading in some of their previous series, and was like one of the leaders in basically all of Pacific in that regard. And then completely fell off a cliff in this last set. I think that if Depp is in form, they pretty much win. Like, he's just so good when he's on, and he has regularly been on. I think that this was a dip in performance versus Talon. Maybe they didn't take them as seriously as they necessarily need to. Maybe he slept on the wrong side of the bed and cramped his fucking shoulder. I don't know what it was, but he definitely didn't look like the depth that we have been seeing over the last couple of weeks. So I think that if he returns and looks strong versus Secret, then I would say yes, absolutely, ZETA can make that run. They could take that third place away from a team like Paper X to make it to Tokyo.
I think 10 also, like I pretty much echo everything you're saying, and just put 10's name in there as well. Like 10 has been looking incredible. I think it's been integral for them as well, and I think he had a quiet series.
Yeah,
So I think it's very important that these two, I think it's very important that these two are kind of showing up. In terms of can they make Tokyo, at least from what I've seen, I'm going to go out there and say I don't think so. Like from what I've seen so far, I need to see them all looking really good at the same time. Like it's possible, but in terms of what I've seen, I'm going to go ahead and say I don't think so.
Yeah. And they have a really tough rest of schedule. They play
4
Secret,
games are brutal.
then Paper X, then T1, then Gen.G. We just rated all those teams above, literally the 4 teams above them in what our power rankings which just was. So
I mean, they just need to get into 6th, and then it's about playoffs, though, right? It's not really like they don't have to win a ton of those.
There's a possibility they lose all 4 though.
And,
and maybe even miss out.
I could see them being. I could see them beating.
Oh no, yeah.
Some winnable, but very tough. All right, I want to move on to talk about EMEA though, just for a moment, and all of our favorite team, Karmine Corp. And I genuinely becoming my favorite team because they did genuinely look good in this game.
It's called Stockholm Syndrome, Josh.
It is. It's actually it's Stockholm Syndrome, yeah. But something about this team and their just beloved fumbling has got me on board. And the fact that they now have their assistant coach calling. And frankly, I think they were robbed on Ascent. Did a co-stream of this, Zeish had either a bug with planting the spike or didn't bind his keyboard because he's playing on a QWERTY compared to an Azerty or something.
He was in my chat. He said that he didn't have it like properly bound because they've been playing on their normal accounts, and then they have like a tournament client, so they have a tournament account, and then it was the mix with a French keyboard, I think.
The Azerty instead of QWERTY.
Yeah. So I think like the normal plant button, you have to like actually go out there and bind it because like your 4's not there. I can't remember what it is. So it was a mix of that. So they lost a round because of that. They lost both pistols. They lost both bonuses. And they still managed to get it close. Like they should have won Ascent. So yeah, I mean, they look way better. It's a good example of what a difference like iGelling can make and how like obviously this is like a bit of a flame, but it's a good case study of just how hard it is to iGel and frag, because Scream looked back to normal Scream. It looked like him. I said last week that it looked like someone else was playing like on his account. It doesn't look like him with the name, and then this time it looks like him. It looks like what we remember. He is out dueling everyone. It looked way better. I thought the calls were good. They had set plans. The mid rounding was nice. They just got a little bit unlucky with not planting in the important rounds and not winning any pistols or bonuses. But what a turnaround!
It reminds me this game of like in football when a football manager gets sacked, and just someone comes in for like 2 days, and then a team just plays like way better. And it's not that like it's not like the person who leaves is necessarily just like the problem, but sometimes like just the psychological of maybe they came in feeling like we've hit rock bottom, we've got nothing to lose, we've had that change, psychological change, as you say, a change to like the IGLing maybe helped as well. Scream just looked a lot more confident. Everyone looked more confident. XMS on Ascent was holding it down. Like he played, I mean, maybe the best series that I've seen. Oh my god, this is so painful.
Yeah,
watching that back. But XMS was playing really well. Scream was hitting shots that, like you say, wasn't hitting before. I don't think I've ever rooted for a team as hard as I have for Karmine Corp in that map, because I was like, this could actually happen. Like, look at that, they're winning the gun rounds. Like all the gun rounds, like they kind of owned it, and it was it was crushing. The way that ended as well with Shin like being in B main, and then he's got behind them and he shoots and he misses, and then they come back and kill him and they lose the 2v2. It was a heartbreaking way to lose as well.
I thought there was a great loss condition for Na'Vi if they had done some trolling with the comps as well, and they didn't even. They didn't. They just played very default compositions. I guess the Cypher on Ascent is not particularly default, but the overall game plan was not really that weird or kooky from Na'Vi. I was hoping that Karmine Corp's Lotus was going to come out and look really good. I guess that was the only slim disappointment for me, is that it didn't quite look as good as I remember it being.
They it's because they had Zesh on Viper, right? And the thing that I really liked about their old Lotus was when Nivera was like on the attack, he was picking up the smoke and then doing the smoke over towards C, where you can kind of like lurk in and you have to have 2 people holding C, but they never really did that smoke. So I think that kind of cost them. Their attack didn't like look how good it did at locking. So I was like looking at their default and locking, thinking like, damn, every team should just copy this. It's fantastic. So yeah, I lacked a little bit on that one, but yeah, I don't know. In terms of positives, like it was full of positives to take away.
Yeah, so many positives. And we've just come off the back of them losing that French battle. Vitality slipping down as well. Karmine Corp are going up against Koi next week. Like, if this had happened a week ago, they might have been able to beat Vitality. And because it's happened now, am I crazy for thinking they might have a chance of beating Koi? I guess we'll see when we get to the Preds. But good Lord, the script writers have really outdone themselves with this Karmine Corp arc.
Yeah. You couldn't have picked a better team to make that 4-part series on. I mean, you completely lucked out. Like, most teams would have just been completely normal from then on. Yeah. But Karmine Corp have decided to just be peak entertainment. And oh my god, you just reminded me how they lost on Ascent this last round. The Omen ult, the giveaway, the spike Omen ult. But then they don't even take the site. They just end up in a complete 4v5.
I mean, they just overcooked in the most classic Karmine Corp fashion possible.
Oh my god. I was losing my mind at this. And then they somehow managed to make it winnable again, and then they lose. It's like...
It was entertaining. Yeah. But yeah, it looked, the first 30 seconds was like a bad ranked game. It really was.
Yeah, and then, Shin really should have got one there. It was tragic. It was tragic. Having said that, I mean, they're probably not beating Na'Vi anyway, and it was still a good sign from them. It's like, kind of like the EG game, where it gives you, the top team still won, but you have so many more reasons to root for the bottom team now. It's just a good thing overall. As for the rest of the EMEA region, I mean, apart from Vitality, which we'll talk about a bit in the Preds and stuff, because we're running out of time here, but we had like Fnatic delay their game. How is that going to get made up? Because they didn't even play it later on in the week.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's probably be played on a random day, I guess, or maybe on like a Monday they'll just add in. That'll be a 2-day game where they play on both Koi and Fnatic play Saturday and then play Monday, maybe.
Am I mad for thinking that's kind of fucked for Koi? Because Koi didn't have, I'm not saying Fnatic caused the issue, obviously. It's not like they're actually deliberately trying to get COVID. But the way in which the rules are set out now, it punishes Koi, because now Koi are going to have multiple matches in 1 week. And on top of that, if there was only one player that had COVID, Fnatic would have been forced to play with a sub. So it incentivizes them to spread COVID throughout their team in order to get the match postponed instead of them playing with a sub. It's just a bad ruling. I think they should have to forfeit. Like, Fnatic should have had a forfeit loss there, no? Because they can't field a team for their match.
Is that
too harsh?
After this many cases,
or maybe there should be like a little room.
Forfeit.
Yeah, or like a quarantine room or something, or being able to play from somewhere else. Yeah, maybe that.
Yeah, maybe something like that. That would be good.
Yeah.
Because it's unfair to Koi. It sucks for them. But I guess it's Fnatic, so you're not expected to win it anyway. So it's a little bit, but it's still a nightmare to have two. It's basically an extra super week, right? Just put in there.
Yeah, and I assume if this had happened at the end of the season, they would have had to forfeit it anyway, because there's no way that they can add it on extra. So it just feels very we're just making up rules on the fly based on what the situation is, rather than having something codified. That's the big problem that I have with it. Anyway, let's get into predictions. So, EMEA predictions for this week, actually kind of tough, especially the ones that we've gone for. What am I talking about? The ones that we've gone for. There's 5 games. We're predicting all 5. It's literally just a weird weird week of games. All right, let's kick it off then with Giants playing against Team Liquid. Team Liquid have been playing pretty well recently. Anyone? Oh, yes. Okay. The Team Liquid pred here. Why are you going for it?
Because I haven't watched that much. No, I mean, I've seen that. Liquid have been kind of trending up. I think they have what it takes. You know, give them enough prep time, I think, and hope that we can see. Like, this is mostly a hopium, I guess, because I want Liquid to be a good team. I want them to be able to be competitive, just given the players that are on that roster. So I think that if they are not being impactful, if they cannot challenge the upper echelon of the teams and whatnot, and best giants in the series, then I think that that's a little bit concerning. So I'm hoping that they win, but I've also kind of noted their little upward trends and whatnot. So I'm just
I don't think that's an unreasonable plan, to be honest. I think it's going to be a close game. I just favor Giants a bit. Like, I think this is a battle for like, it's like a battle for kind of those last Tokyo spots, if you think about it.
Oh, last Tokyo spots. Yeah, last Tokyo spots.
Like the third, fourth kind of place. I'm not sure whether it's a battle for third or a battle for fourth, but it's like around that area, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I would like to apologize to my org, first of all. Apologize to Liquid for doing this. But I tell you what, if this is a week later, I'm predicting Liquid because of the maps, but looking at the map pool, I think Liquid probably have to play Icebox.
Wait, okay, so this is part of your mad theory that, all right, so in EMEA, Icebox is still being played this week.
Yeah, so Icebox
we
is still
started
being
the
played
same
this
week that EMEA did, though.
I'm telling you, it's week 6 for everyone.
I'm telling you,
really
we 100% have it this week in Pacific.
Really?
I'm pretty sure we have it this week in Americas, and we're not
Maybe
even
it
on
starts
week
at the
6.
weekend.
That's what it must be. Dude, it's
Isn't
like,
it just the first week after the patch came out? Like, the patch is live now, aren't they just all moving now? Okay, let's make yours an if-or statement. So if Icebox is in, you're predding Giants.
Yeah.
If Icebox is out, you would be predding Liquid.
Yeah.
Okay, why? What's the reason there? Is it because you don't like Liquid on Icebox?
Yeah, I mean, did you watch Lock-In? That's pretty much it.
They look terrible at Lock-In, but they look terrible on everything they did at Lock-In, didn't they?
True.
They're a different team now.
But I think Team Secret looked a little bit better on like Fracture and Lock-In, and Icebox was more just Liquid looking really bad. Like they didn't shoot a dart in any round, and they looked really like it was not good.
Have they just been permabanning it since then? Because they haven't played it since Lock-In.
It's between that and Pearl, right? They've been switching between that and Pearl, and Giants like to play both. Giants like to play both, so it's like, well, they're gonna have to pick one, and I think they're gonna pick Icebox, and then I think they go a map down, and then I think it's probably too hard considering the map pool. They haven't convinced me in terms of looking that comfortable on a lot of maps, and Giants are gonna ban Sen, I think, maybe, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's not good map pool. But if Bime was in, I think it's good. Week later, I think it's a different game.
Okay. Let's move on to the next game. This one, to me, was the hardest to predict this week. I don't even know really who the favorite is. It's BBL playing against Heretics. Oh, boy. Where are we going on this? Oh, okay, so the BBL pick, I mean, they got a win this week over Vitality that was a pretty big one. Is that part of what's informed your choice here?
Yeah, I think... BBL, I think, have consistently been like, everyone was kind of like, oh, BBL, they haven't got a win yet, but they actually, they're not like, the worst team in like all the franchising or whatever, despite the fact that they hadn't got a win. Not that they were like playing amazing or whatever, obviously, but they weren't like, getting destroyed on every map. They were some maps, but not every map. And I think, I don't know if Kushner, was it Kushner who just went absolutely crazy in their last game?
Almost
against Vitality. It was many sleeps ago, I can't remember, but he was just going, he was frying. He went like on Haven. He's 28 and 15, 6-0 in first kills, first deaths. Like, he was, if he does that again, I feel like they'll I don't know, like you say, this is honestly a coin flip, I think. And I know Heretics can be a bit of a team where they look good on a map, and then they look like lost on the next map, and it's like there's just what's going on. So it might depend on which Heretics teams turns up, and that could honestly be just who wins. But
I think you kind of summed it up. Heretics are just a coin flip. I don't know. I don't know what Heretics are going to get every week. So yeah, it's a bit of a coin flip. The only thing that I can see them giving the edge is they ban Ascent, I would imagine. And if they do that, I think they have a big advantage. If they don't ban Ascent, then I think it's game on massively. But I think they'll look at it and they'll just ban Ascent and should give them the advantage.
How are teams still letting Ascent through against BBL?
Oh, no.
I don't really understand that.
Doesn't make any sense.
How did BBL get to play on Ascent and Haven against Vitality? It's bizarre.
They're
Just
loving
stopped
it.
after DRX.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Vitality just banning Pearl. I guess that's just a straight permaban. They just decided to continue with it. It always makes me confused when teams are not willing to take that risk. Whatever. I suppose if Vitality
Especially on Pearl,
never
just go
screamed
B.
it. Yeah, exactly. It's map's super simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, this is the game that I'm tuning in for this week. This is the banger, the one that genuinely the English-speaking audience might not realize, but it makes waves in the French and Spanish audience too. It's Koi playing against Karmine Corp. There's already been some banter on Twitter, people shipping all sorts of things over, and 3 of us have gone with Karmine Corp. Holy shit!
Normally,
We have to finish the arc with a Karmine Corp victory in the clout bout of EMEA. We just have to.
Yeah, I think normally it's the person with like the one that has to explain it, but I kind of want to hear what you three have to say, to be honest.
I never thought I would be in this position where I'm predicting for Karmine. I don't know. I think that last match, it was just that last series that really made me think like, okay, they're looking better. It seems like the IGLing is in significantly better hands, and Scream can now use those hands to strangle his opponents, but with bullets. And I know, really, I'm a poet. I don't know. It was really on that. I just said, you know what, fuck it. They look a little bit better. Koi is kind of, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think Koi are playing that well currently, and I liked what Karmine Corp showed. I still think Karmine Corp are going to lose, but I'm going to predict them because of the fucking narrative, okay? Because I want this team to win, because I'm supporting them, because I'm going for the Mel prediction. They're my favorite team. They've trolled for so long.
You just
they
want to be able to go back to
this.
France
They fucking
sometime.
deserve this.
Yeah,
and I want to be allowed back into France. I don't want Kamito to call me Barthez repeatedly and do that fake laugh where he's imitating me. Fuck.
Yeah, mine was just pure predict what you want to happen. Predict what you want to happen. I want Karmine Corp to win. I got nothing against Koi.
Yeah, we're manifesting it.
Or cursing.
If put a gun to my head, Koi are going to win this game.
Put a gun to my head, I'm still saying Karmine Corp, and I go out feeling great. All right, Foot versus Fnatic. Let's move on to the next game. Foot, a team that have been the dark horse, but I mean, Fnatic, they are the best team. Yeah. Does Fnatic lose at any point here? Do you think there's any upset that happens? Do they take their foot off the gas for even a moment? Like, could they even lose this even if they were at 50%?
They played Navi in the last week. That's the only time they're going to lose.
But they've already locked in the top seed at that point.
Yeah, because they might have fully locked in and Navi might have to play for something, and then that's the only time that they lose. Unless, I don't know. I mean, that's just, what do we need to say? It's Fnatic.
Yep.
They're good.
Let's move on. I think that makes a lot of sense.
There's a small chance that they could win Lotus, right? Lotus is going to be in the map. So they have a... I think they might be able to get a map.
Fnatic are still running the comp that people are not too on board with. They're running the fade and stuff.
The no flash, yeah. So Lotus will be pretty good to see.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully that doesn't get removed and we get to see that. The final match of the week, Vitality plays against Na'Vi. Whoa, that's a lot of yellow. Oh, yeah. If this was earlier on in the season, I definitely would have taken a punt on Vitality. But it just seems like Na'Vi have gotten out of their... I mean, Na'Vi did actually have still a close map against Karmine Corp. Are we not giving Na'Vi enough shit for that? I feel like in most worlds, we would be... In the world where we're not just all focused on Karmine Corp and the improvements that they've made, maybe we would have taken a more critical lens towards the Na'Vi performance. But to be honest with you, I was just blinded by my love for Karma. I was completely blinded.
It was real tunnel vision. Yeah, I was trying to think then, but they like some of the stuff didn't look too bad. They got outdueled a lot, so I don't know. Yeah, I kind of agree with what you said. Like at the beginning of this, I'd be picking Vitality, but I think Na'Vi. I was expecting them to maybe try something against K-Corp. If they're not trying something against K-Corp, they're going to be doing normal stuff against Vitality. And yeah, I feel confident they should take it. It should be fine.
I think it might have been a psychological thing as well, where they're coming into the game and they're like, playing Karmine Corp, you know, we're going to win this game. And then all of a sudden it gets close, and then you start thinking, we can't lose this game, right? Like, we can't lose this game, right? And then you just start like panicking, like, oh my god, guys, wait.
I mean,
wait. No.
We've had those the comparisons already between them, but I mean, you talk to a lot of the old Overwatch League teams and whatnot about when we had the 0-40 Shanghai Dragons and how so many more people were stressed playing against them because you didn't want to be the first team to give them a win. And obviously this already happened, but just given the form, given all of the discourse around them, especially a team of the caliber of Na'Vi dropping that series to Karmine definitely adds so much more pressure. So I can see that being affected. For me, it's just, you know, Na'Vi is a fairly known quantity as far as the team is concerned. I expect that they're gonna look at the shortcomings that happened in that last series and just shore those up going into this one.
Well, it's 11 a.m. and Sliggy's going to turn into a pumpkin. Giants versus Liquid is happening as well. So it's time for our final segment, and then we'll free him to the world. It's Wyatt's weekly award.
Damn, I love video games.
Westlake Youth Soccer Trophy. Not even a gaming trophy at the end there. Well, as much as I've appreciated all of our guests this week, thank you for joining us, Achilleos, Sliggy, and TMV. I'm afraid the award, Wyatt's Weekly Award, is going to Mel for predicting the North American teams properly last week. She absolutely beasted it with the 100 Thieves parade over Leviatan. I don't know where that one came from. And then also correctly predicted, maybe this one was even more out there, but I don't know, maybe not. I guess TMV was also on the train for the Cloud9 over Furia one. So, yeah, very, very well done. Mel knows the game. I mean, I'm not even going to possibly argue that she knows the game better than I do. Of course she does. But also Nostradamus it this week, so congratulations to that one. And we'll be going back and giving an award to one of you three if you get any of them right. I mean, who made the most bonkers preds? It would be Achilleos.
If Koi beats K-Corp.
If Koi beats K-Corp, you'll get your flowers, Siggy. We'll make sure to give you your flowers for predicting that one. Thank you for joining us, the three of you. And I hope you all enjoyed at home our little dive into the Pacific region. You won't be seeing that again. All right, give us a comment telling us, I don't know, who you think's the nicest person you've ever met in your life. And we'll see you next week for episode 132. Bye-bye.